Welcome back, All Sports Western New York. In a few minutes, we'll see Fred Jackson helping to install a Reimer furnace. But right now, in studio is Jay Skurski, who writes for the Buffalo News and very involved with covering the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills have a football coach, by all accounts. The selection of Rex Ryan was more popular than not. Although I hear a lot of people, basically say the same thing to me, which is, well, I think he's entertaining. Whether they win any more games, time will tell. But they're not upset with bringing in a personality like that. I think, if nothing else, he's been fun. He's just been fun to watch and follow. Yeah,
I wrote about it in Sunday's Buffalo News, a poll that we commissioned along with Channel 2, commissioned from Siena College, and 70% of people who were polled, Erie County residents, liked the hire of Rex Ryan. And I thought that was a pretty high number, because he does come with some question marks. The recent performance of the Jets has not been very good, obviously, but what he brings is something that this team hasn't had in a long time, and that's a national appeal. I mean, he is a big name. He's probably the biggest name among the available candidates at head coach, and it's part of that is his oversized personality and the fact that he's never been shy to give a good soundbite to the press. And for a lot of those reasons, I think people like it because the Bills are relevant again, at least on a national stage. I mean, ESPN was leading their coverage when the Bills hired Rex Ryan, and I think a lot of that appeals to people. Will it translate into more wins on the field? Well, we know he's got a great defensive background. So with the pieces in place on this defense, you expect them to play at a reasonably high level again. Will they be quite as good? Hopefully, maybe not, though. They might take a little bit of a step back, but I think it's safe to assume this is going to be a top 10 defense again next year under Rex Ryan. Then the question becomes, what do they do on offense? And that's something that we've batted around here before and we'll continue to bat around until they can find a quarterback. And that's the offseason right now in a nutshell. What do they do with that position?
I had a chance this past week to speak with Coach McNally. Mouse McNally, of course, is a great offensive line coach. Coach right here in Buffalo, played for UB, but he knows Ryan very well. And said to me, basically, he said one thing about Rex Ryan is the players love playing for Rex Ryan. You can't find an ex-player that's going to say something bad about Rex Ryan. But he said to me the same thing that I just said to you, and that is, whether it results in more wins is anybody's guess at this stage of the game, because Rex Ryan has inherited a problem here in Buffalo that he just left in New York, and that is a sluggish offense with a poor quarterback. And he was unable to figure that one out for the last 4 years. So, really, has he learned anything from that, I guess, is the question that he can apply to this.
Well, I think what Bills fans have to be hoping is that they're getting the Rex Ryan for the first couple of years in New York when he was able, when I think the talent level in New York was much higher when he first took over.
Right.
That was an aging defense that he just left, an offense that, yes, it started at quarterback, but really throughout the offense just did not have a lot of talent at running back, at wide receiver. They tried a few things that didn't work. I think he's got more pieces on this roster, a lot more pieces than what he left in New York. So you have to hope that he's able to do what he did his first 2 years in New York, and that's take a dynamite defense and an offense with a quarterback in Mark Sanchez at the time who you could get by with, and that's what they have to find. Maybe they find it with Mark Sanchez. He's a free agent, but that's what you're looking for, is just a quarterback who can get you some of the way there. I think that the running game next year, the hiring of Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator, I think that's going to help the running game. He believes in a power rushing attack. The running game this past season was, I think, one of the biggest disappointments on this team. It took a huge step back from 2013 to 2014. If that can rebound, if you can get adequate quarterback play, I'm not saying you're going to get dynamite quarterback play, and you get great defensive play, that's a good recipe, and that's a recipe that Rex Ryan used to get to 2 AFC championship games in back-to-back years.
Now, the front office, in my opinion, both Doug Whaley and potentially Russ Brandon maybe dodged a bullet when Bill Polian said, this isn't the right job for me. Doug Whaley almost seems to have resurrected himself and appears to have, a great initial working relationship, and why wouldn't he with Rex Ryan? He was one of the guys that helped hire Rex Ryan. And Whaley is now downplaying the falling out that he had with Doug Marrone, which I think is after the fact, and I think anybody close to the team knew it. They didn't get along much. So here's Doug Whaley and here's Russ Brandon. The Pegulas are sticking with the hand that they were dealt. And I guess really I would have to guess this is going to be a make-it-break-it year for that front office.
I would think so. You know, Doug Whaley's performance has been some good, some bad. You know, you look at the drafts that he's run, and he's done really well in certain areas. You know, Preston Brown, a third-round pick, turned out to be a very good selection. Even Seantrell Henderson, a seventh-round pick. The Bills were willing to roll the dice on him. You know, he started every game. His performance was a little bit uneven, but I think there's a lot of potential there. The issue with Doug Whaley is not a surprise to anyone that's followed this team. It's been his performance at the top of drafts. His role with E.J. Manuel, how much of that pick does he own? To his credit, he hasn't shied away from it. Then you go to the following year, trading a first-round pick for Sammy Watkins when there were other receivers like Odell Beckham Jr. who had better years, who could have been available. The pick of Cyrus Kouandjio in the second round was a terrible bust. So he needs to get better at the top of the draft, and that's going to be tough to do this year without a first-round pick, but he's going to have to hit a home run on a second-round pick. He can't whiff like he did on Cyrus Kouandjio. He's got to get this team a starting piece, whether that's at tight end, whether that's at running back, whether that's at guard. He's got to find a way to help this offense in the draft with less ammunition than normal. If he's able to do that, and I think he's done a decent job with free agency. You know, Corey Graham came over as a free agent, proved to be a pretty good signing, but Chris Williams and Keith Rivers weren't. They were non-impact players. So, you know, you're never going to hit 100%, but he's got to do better on the big swings that he takes, not the little ones, not the waiver wire additions. He's done okay there. It's what are you going to do at quarterback? That's what Doug Whaley's going to be great at.
You think they'll sign a free agent?
I think that's the most likely way of going about it. You know, I don't think any rookie that you're going to draft is going to step into a 9-7 team and be expected to lead them to the playoffs. That's asking a lot of any rookie, especially one who isn't picked in the first round. Then you look at the trade market. It's hard to gauge who's available, you know, without knowing exactly who's going to be out there and what teams are willing to part with. It's hard to predict the trade, so then you're left with free agency. And like I said before, Mark Sanchez is a name that makes sense.
Well, and he's also, his jersey is on a tattoo on Rex Ryan's bicep.
Right.
His wife wearing the jersey, which is bizarre. But anyway, Jay, it's great having you on. You were on back-to-back. He was on Bucky and Sully Monday. He's on All Sports Tuesday. You're probably going to be a guest on, Talk of the Town on Thursday. But it's always great having you on the show, and enjoy the Super Bowl.
I'm happy to be here anytime. Thank you.
We're going to be back. We'll see Fred Jackson helping to install a furnace right after this on All Sports Western New York.